This is Nathaniel Rateliff.
Hey, good job, man.
Yeah.
Festivals are great in certain regards. It's really nice to I get to see friends that I haven't seen in a long time. I ran into Paolo Nutini last night and saw Marcus King today and chatted with Beck. So it sometimes gives you an opportunity to see more people and reconnect with people, and that's really nice. But then there is something nice about just doing your own tour that isn't the festival circuit, and you have a little bit more of a rhythm, and we tour a lot, and last year we were out on the road quite a bit, so
Yeah.
So we're just getting back to it, and yeah. This is our third time here, and we've always really enjoyed it. So at the fest, and yeah, it's always been never know who you're gonna run into, and yeah, man, it's just the crowd's great. It's nice to see families out there as well, and yeah.
Great. I'll throw a couple of things. So today I was reading Relics magazine, and you've released a 5-track EP with some reworking of some songs of yours.
Yeah.
And I was reading back through a couple of old interviews, and you talked about how the way you physically feel the notes as you sing them affects how the song's delivered, and you feel yourself growing and learning through the feelings, whether it be your sinus or your teeth or your bones. And
Right.
you want to tell us all about that?
Yeah, singing is like such a physical thing to me. In this band, and even I just was doing. It's the 50th anniversary of Harry Nilsson's "A Little Touch of Schmielsen in the Night," and so I've been performing that with the symphony, and a lot of it is muscle memory, and it's like feeling the note move through your body, because the cues for some of that are so crazy, and it's certainly different approach than what I do with the Night Sweats, but Night Sweats has the same thing where a lot of the emotion you feel in singing is like just very physical because of the note coming through your body. You're using your whole body to do it sometimes. So yeah.
And so, reinterpreting these songs for the new EP, you've from what I read, you'd stretched them out so they'd be a lot better to perform live and a lot more interesting to perform live. They sound like they were heavy lifting to go before.
Yeah, the one song that we really kind of reworked is called "What If I," and that's on the Future, the last full length we put out. And it was just I wrote it kind of at the top of my register, and then Pat and Mark, Pat plays drums and sings, and then Mark is playing keyboards and organ and sings. And it was just, we're just screaming our heads off, and we tried different tried switching the keys, and it was still pretty difficult. And so I found that we weren't playing it that much. And so we let Phil, I was like, what if we just reapproach this? And it was just kind of fun to have something to repeat from the record that we had a different version of. And then some of the other songs, one of them is Mark's song that I helped him finish, and but he had written a hell of a song before he brought it to the studio, and so that one's on there. And then just some stuff that we, nowadays it's like I always consider the record we're making what is that going to be like on vinyl?
Yeah.
And so in order to make it a single piece of vinyl, sometimes I'll leave songs off that I really love, and instead of doing an extended play, we just put out an EP with those extra songs. So, but some of the other songs on there are some of the other guys' favorites, and yeah. So.
Nice. Being a Grateful Dead fan myself, and obviously keeping abreast of what's going on. Last year, November, December,
yeah,
you shared the stage with Bob Weir and Wolf Brothers, and then Bob came on stage, and a couple of interesting out of the bag songs. Slow Train, Bob's first time live in 10 years, and some other really wild things. The other one is an encore too. Some really cool stuff there.
Yeah, I kind of, I've been a fan of Bobby's for a long time, and, was a Grateful Dead fan as a kid and still love their tunes. And first met him at a memorial event for John Prine and yeah, it's just super kind. And I saw he was coming to Denver, and I just reached out, and I know Don was, and I was like, I'd love to come do a couple of songs. And so I popped up on stage and did Me and My Uncle and Tennessee Jed, which is pretty funny because Don was like, I was like, do I need to show up with a guitar? Like, what do I need? He's like, man, there's like 9 of us. He was like, you're just going to be singing. Don't show up with anything. And first thing Bobby said was, it'd be pretty good if you played guitar. And I was like, fuck. So, but luckily I had like kind of been rehearsing Tennessee Jed and like learned all those licks. And, it's funny when you hear a song you've known forever and then you sit down to play it, you're like, I don't know this at all. So.
Well, you probably can't predict how Bobby's going to play it anyway.
Right. Yeah. No, actually, when he came and hung out with us at the show we were doing, like you said, we did Slow Train Coming, which was a suggestion of mine, and then we did Shape I'm In, which is one we've done a lot, and then we did Me and My Uncle, which is super easy for all of us, and then it was feeling pretty good, and then Bob was like, I was like, if you want to do another one, I like spouted off a few tunes that we knew that I like, a John Prine song and a couple other things I thought he might know. And he's like, well, if we're going to do something else, it'd be good to do an older one of mine. And he was like, do you guys know Dark Star? And I was like, how are you playing that these days, Bobby? And I was like, I know it, but I didn't know how to play it. But we ended up doing the other one, which was also, it's like the story of him. So it's fun, then it's not the kind of stuff we normally do as a band, but, he had a blast. And
just the Guild Theatre show where he joined you again, that was a benefit for your Marigold
the Marigold
project.
Foundation, the Project Foundation is ours. So.
And that's raises money for social justice and racial inequality programs and that sort of stuff.
Social, economic, and racial justice. So
cool.
Yeah.
You want to tell us a bit more about that, or
we first started that because we were doing a lot of work with Farm Aid, and kind of growing up in rural America, while also moving to the city and seeing disparity in both places. We kind of wanted to help out our home communities, but then also just there's so much disparity in a lot of places we go to, and I don't know if everybody sees that all the time, and so I just feel like there's a lot of work to be done on a lot of those fronts. And so we've worked on that. We helped change some gun legislation in Colorado to try to have safer gun laws and try to approach that as like it's a tough topic in the States, but it's also like, I grew up in a small community where we, primarily hunted for a lot of our food. And so wanted to like approach the conversation from that perspective while, people can still hunt and feed their families, but, I think the laws are pretty outdated, so in general, so. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
You bet.
Oh, good.